The morning sun broke over Meridian City's skyline in gentle gold, unaware of the nightmare stirring beneath its foundations. Deep under the city streets, in a flooded subway tunnel sealed for decades, something ancient writhed in restless slumber. Without warning, a deafening crack echoed through the concrete cavern as massive scales split the walls. Mud and water cascaded into the tunnel, hissing steam filling the air like some infernal breath. Above ground, commuters paused in mid-stride as the earth shuddered, vending machines rattling, subway windows fracturing. A colossal, emerald green head burst forth from the gaping hole. Its eyes glowed with primeval hunger, slit-pupiled orbs filled with centuries of malice. Fangs longer than telephone poles dripped venom into the churning water below. Panic erupted. Drivers stomped on brakes as tires screeched. Pedestrians sprinted for safety. City sirens wailed, but the gargantuan creature paid them no heed. With a thunderous roar that shook glass to dust, the giant snake swung its head, smashing a row of cars like toys. From the tunnel mouth spilled dozens of smaller serpents, sleek, black-scaled, and bearing razor-sharp fangs. They slithered in all directions, their forked tongues tasting the fear in the air. In the plaza before City Hall, a young man named Kai climbed to the top of a fallen statue to take in the horror. He was tall and athletic, with dark hair tousled from yesterday's breeze and piercing blue eyes that missed nothing. His hand went to the pocket of his leather jacket, feeling the smooth edge of an emergency flare. Without hesitation, he lit it, raising it high. The bright flare caught the attention of a young woman named Mira, who had paused behind a fountain, her auburn curls catching the light. She was beautiful in a fierce, determined way, full lips set in a hard line, emerald eyes blazing as she steadied her camera's flashlight into a hunting rifle stance. They locked eyes across the chaos. For a moment, the world fell away. Then Kai shouted, "Mira, over here!" Her heart pounded as screams and stench filled the square. People were trampled by fleeing crowds. Some fell, unable to rise again. The two raced toward each other, dodging writhing serpents coiling around flower beds. Every leap and roll brought them closer, their connection steeled in shared danger. At the base of City Hall steps, Kai extended his hand, and Mira grasped it, sparking the first ember of something more profound amid the carnage. Together, they turned their backs to the biggest of the smaller snakes, stepping onto the steps to defend the few survivors clutching at broken chairs and overturned benches. As the giant serpent let out an earth-splitting hiss, Kai and Mira met its gaze, two young souls bracing for the fight of their lives. Smoke curled around toppled lampposts and shattered signs as Kai and Mira guided a ragtag band of survivors into the basement of City Hall's East Wing. The corridor was dim and damp, once a storeroom, now turned impromptu shelter. Injured civilians lay on dusty folding chairs. A small child whimpered into her mother's shawl. Above them, the roar of the giant snake, far too familiar now, shook the building's foundations. Mira knelt beside an elderly man clutching his bleeding arm. Her eyes were soft with concern as she tore a strip from her own shirt to fashion a makeshift bandage. Kai moved to reinforce the door with a fallen steel pipe, jamming it beneath the heavy handle. "It won't hold long," he muttered, shoulders squared against the looming threat. Mira paused, wiping sweat and grime from her brow. "We need another plan," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Those smaller snakes, they're everywhere. But the giant one, there has to be a weak spot." Kai glanced at her, admiration gleaming in his eyes. "You and your sharp mind," he replied, offering a wry smile. Despite the hell around them, in that moment he saw only her. But no time to dwell. A thunderous crash above announced the first strike. The floorboards vibrated as the great serpent's tail smashed through the ceiling beam. Dust rained down. A scream echoed in the gloom. Kai grabbed Mira's hand. Now! Together, they raced through a service tunnel marked Maintenance, walls slick with condensation. The light from Mira's camera-mounted torch danced across rusted pipes and oil-stained walls. Every rattling drip felt like the countdown to disaster. Up ahead, they found a hatch leading to the subterranean river that ran beneath the city. If they could flood the tunnels, perhaps they could lure the serpents away or drown them in the rising current. Mira bit her lip. We need time to open that sluice gate. There's a control room nearby. Kai nodded. I'll hold him off. He drew a battered hunting knife from his belt. Mira's gaze flared with panic and pride. Be careful, she whispered, pressing a kiss to his cheek. Kai gripped her arm, eyes fierce. I always am. He stepped deeper into the tunnel's gloom, where dozens of smaller snakes coiled, eyes like burning coal. Kai inhaled sharply, then charged, knife flashing. Screams and hisses rang out as he slashed and kicked, each blow buying Mira precious seconds. Mira burst into the control room, an old floodgate station, its control panels rusted and wires frayed. She slammed the door shut, slamming her shoulder against it until the latch caught. Outside, Kai's shouts and the serpent's shrieks rattled the steel walls. She dashed to the main console. A red-painted lever labeled sluice gate stood beside a circular valve wheel. Mira yanked at the lever, but it wouldn't budge, stuck by decades of corrosion. She twisted the valve wheel, but her grip slipped on the oily rim. Panic coiled in her chest, like one of the serpents above. Come on, you can do it, she murmured, setting her jaw. Sweat beaded her forehead as she crouched and cranked the wheel with both hands. Metal groaned. With a final heave that sent her trembling, the valve turned. Water roared up in the tunnel outside the door as the sluice gate began to open. A thunderous crack. Kai's voice soared as he fought off the smaller snakes. The great serpent's tail battered the wall. Darkness shifted into watery blue as floodlights in the main tunnel flickered on, revealing the river rising rapidly. Mira ran to the hatch release, pulling with all her strength. The heavy cover side open. She peered down. The subterranean river was surging, the water level already halfway to the ceiling. She pounded on the control room door. It's working. Get out while you can. Kai appeared at the narrow corridor, breathless but alive, pushing a final snake off his boot with his blade. He grabbed Mira's hand. Let's go. They raced back through the labyrinthine passages, the roar of the river now deafening. Water burst through walls, triumphantly reclaiming its ancient domain. The smaller snakes screeched as they were swept into the torrent, while the giant serpent's anguished roar echoed in the flooded tunnel below. Emerging an emergency stairwell, Kai and Mira helped survivors climb to safety. The floodwaters surged in behind them, carrying the serpents in a rushing tide of foam and scale. Above ground, the city's defenders, helpless soldiers, police, and a few brave citizens, battled the smaller snakes still rampaging through the streets. But the devastation was total. Skyscrapers down to their top floors, massive sinkholes where roads once lay, overturned buses burning like funeral pyres. From the heart of the city's melted steel grid emerged the giant serpent once more, dripping water from its scaled bulk. Its eyes blazed furious green as it surveyed the battlefield. Only one target stood in its path, the shattered government tower where Kai and Mira had led civilians to shelter. Sirens blared. A squadron of helicopters screamed overhead, launching missile salvos that exploded against the beast's hide, chipping away at its scales, but scarcely slowing it. Dust and smoke mingled in the sky like a poisonous haze. Inside the makeshift command center, an abandoned parking garage, Kai and Mira regrouped with a handful of fighters. They pored over a crumpled city map, tracing the serpent's path of destruction. The ammo dump, Mira realized, pointing to a storage facility half a mile west. If we can lure it there, the explosion might kill it and end this nightmare. Kai nodded. I'll lead it. You and the others set charges. He brushed a strand of hair from Mira's face. I want to come back to you. Her hand trembled as she traced a finger across his scarred cheek. Be safe. I love you. The plan was grim but simple. Kai bolted into the open plaza, screaming, flaring a red emergency light. The giant serpent turned, eyes locking on him like a predator spotting prey. With a roar that split the air, it gave chase, weaving through collapsed monuments and shattered fountains. Mira and the fighters set timed explosive charges around the ammo depot's perimeter. Heart pounding, Mira checked her watch, 10 seconds to detonation. Down the avenue, Kai darted between flaming wreckage, the serpent's jaws snapping inches behind. He vaulted a fallen bus, breath ragged, legs burning. 5-4, a deafening concussion. The ammo dump erupted, fireball towering into the heavens. The shockwave slammed into the serpent, tossing Kai off his feet. He curled into a ball as the world turned white. For a moment, silence, then a distant roar, dying into anguished hisses. When Kai opened his eyes, the carnage was fading into the dawn's rosy light. Smoke spiraled into pastel skies, mingling with the morning mist. Around him, the city lay battered but no longer under the snake's reign. The final hiss had been drowned by the explosion's roar. Mira was there, kneeling beside him. Tear-stained but smiling, she pressed her forehead against his. You did it, she whispered. He coughed, tasting ash and blood. We did it, he corrected, tracing her jawline with a trembling finger. Around them, survivors emerged from makeshift tents and leaning wreckage, faces alight with relief. The wounded were tended by medics. Children laughed in disbelief as they chased each other through muddy streets. The grateful city folk helped clear debris, working together as one, united by shared loss and newfound hope. From the ashes rose cranes and bulldozers, clearing paths to rebuild. Blue tarps covered shattered roofs. Volunteers set up soup lines under battered banners. Kai and Mira stood atop a collapsed fountain base, hand in hand, looking out over the dawn-lit ruins. She rested her head on his shoulder. We'll rebuild, she said softly. He nodded, kissing her hair. And we'll face whatever comes together. Above them, a lone hawk soared, its cry piercing the morning calm. From the depths below, no serpent stirred. In their place grew a city's resolve, stronger than any scale or fawn.